Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Scores studio. Welcome to the show. So Wizards just can't help themselves, it seems. Not spoiler season yet. The next spoiler season is March of the Machine, but here we go. Some Lord of the Rings spoilers just happened today because Wizards got bored. Regardless, a card that many of us out there have been very excited to see. The One Ring. It is finally here. A legendary artifact, indestructible, costs 4. It says when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. Protection from everything. We are Progenitus. Anyways, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each bird encounter on the One Ring. Now, you might ask yourself, what in the world is a bird encounter? Well, I'm going to tell you. Tap, put a bird encounter on the One Ring, then draw a card for each bird encounter on the One Ring. So basically, hey, when we play this, again, we have to cast it. This is not just, you can't just blink it to abuse this ETB. Essentially, it's an ETB with a cast requirement. But when we do, oh my goodness, again, protection from everything. That is huge until our next turn. It's going to be really hard for opponents to basically do anything to us. We're protected basically in combat, protected from, any spells targeting us, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, we've got a lot of benefits from that. And there are some ways, even though, again, you can't just blink this to use and abuse it. I'll talk about some ways that we can use and abuse it and some commanders that really, really are going to want this card. And on that second part, again, yeah, like I've said many, 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 many times on this channel, 1 life for 1 card in Commander is a fantastic deal. So yeah, when we can just keep adding more and more bird encounters to this, yeah, sure, we will lose some life on our upkeep. That's later us's problem, right? Currently, let's start tapping this, putting bird encounters on it, drawing a ton of cards with it, and of course, there are ways to get a lot more value out of this than, you just regularly be able to, just by going, tap each turn, tap each turn, tap each turn. We've got ways to ensure that we can get more and more encounters on this more quickly, more efficiently, more effectively. And yeah, this card, I think, is going to make an impact in certain decks out there. Again, massive way to protect yourself on top of a way to be just a massive card draw engine throughout the game. So yeah, there are certain commanders out there that could definitely utilize this to the fullest. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about, well, the ones that came to my mind first. Now, is this a, just full complete list, of every single commander that could use this? No, it's a quick take. I didn't have time to go through every single commander in, the commander's history. There's like over 1,000 of them. So yeah, you're just going to have to deal with this list. And if I didn't mention a commander that you think I definitely should have brought up, make sure you comment below and let me know what commander and why. Now, with all that said, well, okay, first up, there is a link in the description below to the commanders I'm bringing up on this episode. So yeah, make sure you check that out if you're interested. And then also, let's jump into it. And yeah, okay, so Breya is basically, your standard artifact commander, right? Breya is a very, very powerful, very, very popular artifact commander for a lot of reasons. 4-mana commander, essentially, right? You've got access to 4 different colors, so you got access to a ton of great things that work well with artifacts. And on top of that, entering the battlefield, giving you 2 Thopters. You can pay 2 to sacrifice 2 artifacts and choose 1. 3 damage to player or planeswalker. Target gets -4/-4. You gain 5 life. So this is a commander that does have that life gain in there, just inherently. So yeah, you can kind of combat that life loss that you're going to be having from the One Ring. Also, if it becomes too much at a certain point, you can even utilize Breya to sacrifice the One Ring. That's right, throw it into Mount Doom. But yeah, you are going to be able to sacrifice the One Ring to get it into your graveyard, and there it can't hurt you. But you also can, get it back. There are plenty of ways with a Breya deck to, get artifacts back out of your graveyard, back in your hand, recast to get that protection again. So yeah, Breya could definitely utilize this in a fantastic way. Next up, a newer commander that could definitely utilize this as well in a fantastic fashion is Liberator, Urza's Battle Thopter. Has flash flying, but also, most importantly, it says you may cast colorless spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. And here's the thing. Yeah, the One Ring is, of course, an artifact, so you can cast it at flash speed. Basically, this commander is like a Vidalcan Ori for your deck. And yeah, being able to flash out the One Ring can be huge. Again, it is an ETB trigger, one that you can't use and abuse with blink effects, but you can utilize it at flash speed, with this and still get that trigger because, again, you are casting it. So out of nowhere, you can get protection from everything until your next turn. So yeah, maybe an opponent thinks they've got you on the ropes and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do all these things to you. I'm going to cast these spells at you. I'm going to, swing my massive army at you. And you're like, the One Ring. Basically, I'm Frodo. I'm invisible. Goodbye. And then, yeah, of course, you can start building up more and more counters with that. Again, a great draw engine for this commander as well. And again, a great flash speed interaction. Next up, another Brothers War Commander, one that I think could be incredibly powerful, this brand new card. Hey, Drafna, what's your first ability again? Oh yeah, pay 1 in a blue, bounce target artifact you control back to its owner's hand. So, get the One Ring out, okay? Make use of it, obviously draw some cards, get some counters on it, and then when you're like, you know what? I'd like some protection again. I would like my opponents not to be able to hit me. So, you know what? Let's just bounce it back to my hand, replay it, and then start things over again. So essentially, again, you are in total control when it comes to the One Ring. You can take it back out when you need to. You can, put it back in your hand when you need to. You can utilize it to best protect yourself and best draw a lot of cards with it. And of course, there are just some broken things that you can do with this commander anyways. You can go infinite in a lot of ways. And yeah, the One Ring protecting yourself can be a great avenue to victory as well. Speaking of avenues to victory, though, one of my decks that, well, I don't really play anymore because, goodness gracious, is this thing powerful. Well, Joyer Weatherlight Captain is an incredibly powerful commander. One might say broken in some ways. Whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. Very simple, but very effective. Artifacts, legendary sagas, of course, are historic. And yeah, the build around this one that is incredibly deadly, incredibly brutal, incredibly powerful is artifacts. Casting a lot of them for cheap or even nothing at certain points can just be a very, very, very powerful artifact storm deck. And adding in a way to give yourself protection, give yourself an extra turn essentially off of your opponents, and also a way to, again, utilize this card for card draw to dig even further into your deck, along with Joyra as well. You can do a lot of powerful things with that, and of course, a lot of Joyra decks out there like mine have plenty of ways to bounce artifacts back to your hand, to recast them and do it again. So yeah, bounce the ring back to your hand, get protection again. Yeah, Joyra might become even deadlier with this one. Now, when it comes to deadly, well, artifacts from graveyards can be very deadly as well. With Emry, Lurker of the Loch. Well, this one can cost 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. So yeah, Emry basically is just going to cost a single blue mana the entire game because, yeah, you can just flood the board with artifacts in absolutely no time. On top of that, Emry's going to mill you 4. And most importantly, tap, choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. So, hey, again, remember when I talked about, Brea and maybe sacrificing the One Ring when you need to? Do that, but with Emry, now once you're getting it into your graveyard, you can recast it from your graveyard. Again, you're not just taking it from your graveyard, putting it into play, and therefore you wouldn't get that ETB trigger. But again, with this one, you are casting the artifact from your graveyard, so you are getting that ETB cast requirement trigger. You can just keep getting that gain protection from everything. Probably once you're set up properly every single turn that you need it, because again, you can just have any way to actually just sacrifice the One Ring, replay it from your graveyard, and there you go. It's going to be really tough to stop if your opponents don't have some graveyard hate or counter spells available, and yeah, you're in blue. You've got some ways to counter other things too. So yeah, I definitely think that this is a commander that could definitely utilize a card like this. Next up, how about Teferi Temporal Archmage, a legendary Planeswalker commander that says, well, okay, the one that I'm going to really point out here is -1, untap it to 4 target permanent. So again, the One Ring is limited to, tapping once per turn. Unless, of course, you've got other ways to untap it, or, you've got a commander that can untap it as well. And untapping 4 permanents for, just a -1 is absolutely massive. And getting more and more of those burden counters on the One Ring, again, yes, might lose you some life, but it's also going to allow you to draw an absurd amount of cards incredibly quickly. Again, you're going to be able to take advantage of that draw even more. Even just the first one, right? Tap, burden counter on it, draw 1, losing no life. Again, you don't lose until your upkeep. Then you utilize this to untap it. Tap, get another burden counter on it, draw 2. You just drew 3 cards and got protection until your next turn from everything for just 4 mana in combination with this commander. Well, and also you get to untap 3 other things as well thanks to Teferi. Yeah, quite a potent combination. I mean, another commander that cares about tapping and untapping. How about Garth One Eye? Actually, my build specifically really cares about tapping and untapping permanents. And yeah, a deck like this might just have an absurd amount of ways to untap specific permanents, and again, being able to untap and retap the One Ring over and over again can be huge. Garth can also really help out with the One Ring. Well, a couple of ways. Actually, with Garth, again, if you actually need to get rid of the One Ring, if, you know, it's becoming problematic to you, perhaps you've got a way to bounce it back to your hand. Maybe you've got a way to sacrifice it. And yeah, if you need to get it back from your graveyard, you can utilize a card like Regrowth, which Garth gives you access to. Do keep in mind, though, that, you know, Disenchant will not help you with the One Ring because it is indestructible, which I kind of glazed over, I think, when I was actually talking about the card originally. Yeah, your opponents are going to have a really hard time actually dealing with this because, again, it is indestructible. It's a massive draw engine that they are going to have a really hard time stopping. And again, a hard time stopping if you can just keep getting it out again and again and again to give you protection. This thing can be crazy. I mean, okay, I'm just going to put kind of like a placeholder here for, you know, essentially any other commander that really cares about artifacts. Let's just say, okay, Urza. Yes, Urza cares about artifacts, obviously. This is my placeholder to say, hey, all the artifact commanders that I didn't mention that really care about artifacts, yeah, this is a very powerful artifact that can help you out in a lot of circumstances for a lot of decks out there. It's doing a lot of things that you really want. Again, protection from everything for a full turn. That's huge. And yeah, just a massive draw engine that helps you throughout the game that is really hard to deal with. So yeah, Urza can definitely make use of it. And if you don't feel like, you know, drawing a ton of cards for some reason, sure, you can still make use of that artifact by it just being basically a mana rock for you, be able to tap it for a blue. So there you go. There's another use for the One Ring. And as I am wrapping things up, well, I do just want to bring up a few commanders that proliferate because, yeah, again, with those burden counters that you are getting on to your ring, you can really make the most of them again. After you get that first one on, all you need to do is just start proliferating to get more and more and more of them on. Now, you might want to proliferate, you know, before, you know, or after your upkeep so you're not losing a ton of life. But, you know, if you're in a Yawgmoth deck, you probably have plenty of ways to gain a lot of life anyways. So sure, just start proliferating a lot. I mean, this can be a great engine for this commander because Yawgmoth wants to be able to discard cards to proliferate. So you can utilize the ring to get more and more cards. Then you can proliferate to get more and more counters on the ring to get you even more cards. And you see where this is going. So yeah, Yawgmoth can definitely be a commander that could utilize this in a fantastic way. And the final commander I'm going to bring up is one from the most recent set, Tekuthal Inquiry Dominus. Yeah, the Dominuses are very powerful, and this one is exceptionally powerful with this ring, because it says if you proliferate twice instead. And on top of that, like all the other Dominuses, you can get indestructible counter on this very easily, and by doing so, you can actually just make this hard to deal with. Your ring's already gonna be hard to deal with. You can draw a ton. Again, by proliferating twice every single time you proliferate, you get more and more of those, you know, burden counters on your ring to make it into an even more massive draw engine for you. And actually, with this one in combination, if you for some reason need to start, removing counters from it, you can as well, because you can just keep activating that ability. Pay 1 Phyrexian Blue, move 3 counters from among other artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers you control to get an indestructible counter on Tekuthal. So yeah, if you need to start removing counters, you can do that as well. So get more counters, remove counters, do whatever you need to do with this brand new commander. Now, my overall impression of this brand new card that's going to be coming out in the Lord of the Rings set later in the year, yeah, this is going to be very impactful. There are definitely some commanders out there that can really make the most of this, that can use and abuse it. Again, just thinking about the commanders that can actually, get it back to your hand or, cast it out of their graveyard. Oh, that is just absolutely gross, just having protection from everything again and again and again. On top of those commanders, of course, then get more and more of those burden counters on this to make the most out of that, ability to draw an absurd amount of cards in exchange for life. So this is a card I think that definitely lives up to the name of the One Ring. I think that it's a card that can have a massive impact again for certain commanders, and I think a lot of players out there are going to be really excited about it. Unfortunately, I will probably never be able to use this card because, well, it is, of course, a mythic, a card that's probably going to be in very high demand, and it's probably going to be pretty expensive. I mean, let me know in the comments below what you think the, price is going to end up being on this card. We shall see, though. And, of course, we shall see what other spoilers come out because, again, Wizards just needs attention, apparently, and just, every now and then it's like, you know what, it's not spoiler season, but here's some spoilers! So, yeah, make sure you're staying tuned to this channel. And with that, today's episode is coming to a close. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.